On today's show, improving the quality of Wi-Fi services. That's the big challenge right across the Wi-Fi industry. My guest today is Todd Mersch, founder and executive VP of San Diego-based startup XCellAir. XCellAir is turning irregular Wi-Fi into carrier-grade Wi-Fi. Find out how they're doing that right after this short message. All right, welcome back, everybody. I think this is episode 23 of Wi-Fi Now TV. I may have lost count, actually. Anyway, my name is Claus Hetting, and thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get to our guest, Todd Mersch, in just a second. Before we do that, I want to remind you once again that we're taking Wi-Fi Now, the conference, to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., this April 19th to 21st. It will be the most comprehensive update on all things Wi-Fi on U.S. soil ever. And of course, a great opportunity for you to network with all the great folks from across the industry, including Todd Mersch. He's going to be there. So check out our program at wifinowevents.com/USA. And if you have any questions, just drop me a line at klaus@wifinowevents.com. Don't forget to mark your calendars for April 19th to 21st, and the place is Washington, D.C. All right, everybody, I'm delighted to welcome, let me just get my papers away here. I'm delighted to welcome Todd Mersch, Executive VP and founder of XCellAir. Todd, great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Great to see you too. Really appreciate it.
And Todd, we need you, first of all, to give us the 2-minute version of what XCellAir is doing. I think you guys have been around for a couple of years now, is it?
Yeah, so we're going on our second year here. We launched the company back in February of last year, actually right ahead of Mobile World Congress. But the product and the concept's actually been in development for almost 3 years. So the business was incubated within another company, InterDigital, for about a year before we launched. And then we brought it to market last year. So it's been an exciting year, an eventful year, and a whole lot of work's already gone into it. We're excited.
Great stuff. And so give us the gist of what you're doing with your technology, and maybe also, is a double question, but also how you got the idea for the company in the first place.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with the second part, and then I'll hone into where we are now, because one of the things for us is after about a year in the market, we've really kind of focused in a subset of what we originally were talking about when we launched the company. So when we launched and we were thinking about the business, we were thinking about it from a very high level that wireless has to get closer to the user. So densification is a big requirement. And we have to be able to use every type of spectrum that's available, whether it be licensed and unlicensed spectrum. So the idea was to provide operators the tools necessary to be able to do that. And you can't do it manually. You have to do it in an automated fashion, and you have to leverage sort of cloud-based technology to be able to scale and be flexible and enable sort of new business models across operators. So originally that was the thought process. It was almost treating this new network as a service in itself that can be leveraged. What we found very quickly is that the real pain point and the near-term pain point is specifically in the Wi-Fi segment. So the tools and capabilities we're providing were around automated interference management and radio optimization, dealing with faults in an automated way so that you're healing the network, and then providing all the visualization and capabilities necessary to kind of evolve that network over time. And we found very, very quickly that specifically in the Wi-Fi domain, as carriers are providing more and more services over Wi-Fi, delivering that reliable experience, that cellular-like experience over unlicensed spectrum is where we wanted to focus the company.
Right, and as we will both agree, I'm sure, the Wi-Fi quality issue is a serious one and specifically, of course, for carriers who, as you said, want to utilize all the spectrum out there. So the way that I understand it, because I've been studying your solution a little bit today, it's a management layer that you're providing to these networks that essentially applies cellular management standards, if you like, to Wi-Fi. Is that part of the story?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a lot of us have a cellular background. We've looked at what does it take to deliver a reliable wireless service. And we built a lot of that capability into the platform. And then taking it a step further, where even in the cellular space, a lot of the tools traditionally have been semi-manual or more manually oriented, gathering the information, then making tweaks and transitions. You can't do that. You especially can't do it in Wi-Fi, we were dealing with unlicensed spectrum and things changed so dramatically and so quickly. So taking those sort of things that you would do traditionally in the cellular network and automating that in the Wi-Fi space, but also helping bring that not just to outdoor networks and hotspots, but even into the home. More and more we see operators leveraging Wi-Fi as really the service they're providing. People say your service provider is giving you internet. No, they're providing you Wi-Fi, right? And that Wi-Fi is expected to work and work well. So one of the areas where we've had a lot of activity is bringing that intelligence, that reliability to Wi-Fi actually in the home itself.
So can you actually apply some of these techniques? I guess that's what you're indicating here. But to the home, like things like radio resource management and auto healing, load balancing, and things like that. It actually applies all the way into to a home spot or a home deployment scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a mixed thing. You either have an operator who's providing that Wi-Fi equipment as part of their offering, and the customer expects it to work reliably. And if it doesn't, they're going to call you and ask you what's going on. So there's a management requirement there, and you can apply those techniques. Our system looks for how is the spectrum being utilized all around you, whether it be your own use of it or your neighbors, especially to get into the denser urban environments. So we deal with some of that, avoiding interference and collisions with unmanaged Wi-Fi, if you will, as well as providing the ability to add a level of resilience without adding cost into that Wi-Fi hardware itself. So keeping that intelligence in the cloud, sort of in that NFV style or SDN style sort of solution, really, really resonates. And then, even in some of these larger homes, you're having more than one Wi-Fi access point, or you have extenders. So being able to make sure that there's a seamless experience across all those techniques are actually applicable. And you add on top of that is that these operators are doing home spots. It's not just your home network. They're also transmitting their own SSID that other people can latch onto. So they've implied a level of quality of experience now that you're saying, hey, buy our service, you get to use it in your house, but whenever you see a Xfinity or an Optimum or whatever it happens to be, those other public SSIDs, you can connect to that as well.
Mm-hmm. So Todd, tell us a little bit about where you are at the moment in terms of trials, deployments, proof of concept.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of all three. We're not quite in scale deployment yet. We've been doing a lot of trial activity, a lot faster than we expected. Coming from a cellular background, I was thinking maybe this time of year we'd start a couple of lab trials, and then we have a year and a half before I get an RFP. But things have moved really quickly. We've been trialing the product with large operators for the last quarter or so. We're moving into field trials with them now, where they're starting to put it into a subset of their footprint and really see the impact. We've even built tools around being able to visualize the effectiveness of our solution in a very rich way. So there's almost an analytics aspect to what we're doing. On the proof of concept side, we worked pretty collaboratively with Cable Labs back in November for them to bring our product into their lab and really kind of run it against a number of concepts and techniques that they'd been thinking about and talking to the cable industry about as well. So that was another interesting proof point for where we were.
Do you see Cable Labs as a bit of a gatekeeper for this kind of technology? Presumably they are kind of a accreditation lab of sorts for MSOs, certainly in the United States, but also partly in Europe?
I think in this domain, it's less of the gatekeeper activity and more of the almost sort of an education, right? You've got certain operators in the space who really get it. They've been putting the Wi-Fi out there and they've seen the issues and they've got their arms sort of around the techniques that could be applied. You've got a whole lot of others who are still trying to really get their head around what is this Wi-Fi SON? What is the radio resource management thing? So there's a degree of education and promotion and they act. So there's the accreditation piece of it, but they also act as sort of they can kind of work on the behalf of the operators to qualify and look at what technologies in the market and then say, hey guys, we've looked at all the different technology that's out there. Here's how everyone's stuff works and kind of simplify the knowledge process in some sense as well.
So I wanted to ask you as well, are you, in terms of trials and so forth, is this mostly in the US or are you also looking internationally to do this?
We are looking internationally. The reach is a little easier in the US, being based in the US, and my engineering team's up in Montreal. So there's definitely a simplicity to that. And there's also, I think the cable industry in the US is a little further along on the Wi-Fi side, and a little bit more motivated from a Wi-Fi perspective. So there's been a natural sort of adherence to that. Overseas, though, we have activity going on in India. We've got some work that we expect to start in Japan. We're looking more in the European market as well now. So we're looking to expand, but we're about 30 people, so we're trying to get through a few of these, make sure everything works really well, and then we can expand and grow the company from there.
Right, exactly. Step by step is the way to go. And
That's right.
and Todd, so tell us how your technology, and by the way, I should say, if people want to know more, they can go to XCellAir.com, right? But
Yep.
right, for more details. But tell us of how your technology is being received by the carriers out there, and generally speaking.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think one of the things that's interesting, I've mentioned it now 3 times. We have a bit of a cellular background. So when I came into this, it was a leap of faith. I was leaving a pretty good position in another company to come join a startup. And one of the things that concerned me was, I've got to get reach into a whole set of operators that I traditionally didn't work with. If I can send a 3-sentence email to these people at a top level and get a response, I mean, there is a pressing issue that with regards, if I say, look, we have a technology that can increase the reliability of your Wi-Fi network, giving you consistent performance and visibility into what's going on, I get a call back. So the reception on the top level has been very high. And then when we get to the next level of detail, I think folks have seen the value that we can deliver. Now, they look at different pieces of what we have, depending on their needs. But in general, that's been really exciting for us, I guess.
Right. And that marks a real change over the past not very long, right? I mean, it used to be 2-3 years ago when I started preaching about offload and stuff like that a lot of carriers, cellular people out there didn't want to hear about it. I think, would you agree that there's been a shift?
I think so. I mean, I think the carriers have realized that they can, some are still marching down the path of Wi-Fi as a second-class network, and you'll never be able to make it better. But I think not everyone has the luxury of large amounts of licensed spectrum. They realize that they need to do that, and I think in a lot of ways there wasn't the tools and techniques that are coming to the market now on the market a couple of years ago that allowed them to sort of bring order to that chaos of unlicensed spectrum and deliver a more reliable service. So I think it's a combination of things. I think our team, we obviously have really great people. They're really smart. We've built a really cool solution, but there's a timing aspect as well, right? So there's that old, you better be lucky than good. I think we've got the timing right, and we've got the right product, and I think that's it's a great place to be.
Absolutely. And I want to pick on a couple of things that I noticed after. In fact, I read a really good story right here in RCR Wireless News that you wrote on the value of Wi-Fi, and where you mentioned that it's more than just retention. We've been talking about retention actually on this show forever.
Yeah.
But you're also bringing up the point that Wi-Fi is offering a real chance to boost revenues. Do you want to comment on a little bit of that? There's some big numbers, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can't put out news and say it's worth $10. No one's going to write about it. Well, we did a couple of things. I mean, as a new company and providing a new type of solution in the market, you have to figure out how your customers make the business case to pay you, to give you money. So we had to look at, one aspect is the operational savings piece, reduced customer care calls, like you said, retention, reduction in churn, all that kind of stuff. You can't, I heard actually very recently, it's really hard to make a churn business case, because no matter what technology an operator is looking to invest in, everyone says, well, it reduces churn. So now you have 100x the return on investment. So everyone's triple counting or double counting the churn part. So you have to look at what's the revenue opportunity. So when we looked at it from both a mobile network operator's perspective as well as from an MSO perspective. On the mobile network operator side, there's an opportunity to save costs, of course, but there's also an opportunity to provide maybe a more cost-effective service and capture more cost-sensitive or price-sensitive customers. I think I saw something that you guys wrote recently on the operators can't survive on a $5 ARPU. They could if they had a Wi-Fi network. So and we said, look, you could make in the city of New York, that equates to around a $300 million opportunity And that's when we stretched it out to the rest of the financial centers, and that's $18 billion. On the MSO side, we looked at, both a Wi-Fi first type service where they would be partnering potentially with a mobile operator as the MVNO, and just a small reduction in traffic on that MVNO's network or on their MNO partners network is a massive amount of money. And then on top of that, if you have a reliable Wi-Fi service, you can start looking at managed services either in the home or in SMB and SOHO market as well. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, when you first provide a consistent, reliable Wi-Fi performance, reliable network, then you can monetize. People like to say Wi-Fi is free. And I think less and less, it doesn't have to be. You can make money from it if you're able to make sure that it provides you some consistent experience.
Well, you're preaching to the converted, Todd. I can tell you this is right up my alley, so I'm very happy you're bringing this up. But yeah, and as you said, there's every opportunity to use every kind of spectrum that's available. But I suppose also for, specifically for things like video streaming and so on, we just saw not long ago T-Mobile launch the Binge On streaming service, which is at a certain grade of subscription, I think, actually completely free to people, for people to use at a very low bit rate, mind you. But this is the kind of thing that operators would look at, right, if they got a reliable network to work with on the Wi-Fi side. Yeah,
there's various different things. It just matters on, if you look at the home, they want to provide more and more services in the home security, home automation, the whole Internet of Things. I think the IoT space it's obviously really hot right now, and everyone's talking about Halo and LTE's got their version, and these things come a couple of years. Until those things come down the pike, it's Wi-Fi based in a lot of cases, right? Mm-hmm. Just going into my own home automation, everything's Wi-Fi based, and it all goes through my Wi-Fi router. And I personally set that up, but if I could get that and know it was going to work and not go through the pains that I went through for my operator, there's money to be had there. So I think both on the move and in the home, there's an opportunity to come up with service offerings. But like I said, you can't do that if the network isn't consistent.
Great stuff. And so, how do you think this will develop in? What do you think about the timescales for deploying the type of solution that you have? How long is it going to take before we get it out there?
So I think in certain cases, I could see our stuff being deployed this year, at least initial deployments. I see a real sense of urgency there. And there's a real, most of the people we are engaged with, Wi-Fi quality of experience is in the top 3 things that they're worried about. So I could see that coming relatively quickly. Real large scale would probably be next year. And from our perspective, we kind of see our business creating a foundation in the sort of carrier Wi-Fi space first, and then have an opportunity to get involved with maybe license assisted access or LTE unlicensed, these various other kind of aggregation technologies, building on the fact that we can say, hey, look, we were able to manage and optimize large scale Wi-Fi networks. A lot of the techniques, the concepts that we apply there also apply in that space as well.
Thank you so much, Todd. It's great to have you on the show. And I also want to mention to you, everybody out there, that you can meet XCellAir and Todd Mersch in DC for the Wi-Fi Now conference. You're going to be there. We're excited that you're coming. And
we're excited too. It looks like a great event, and we do look forward to meeting with folks there.
Great stuff, Todd. And also the other thing I wanted to mention is that we're going to track you down at Mobile World Congress in February because we want to catch your demo on video, your actual system demo on video. So we'll pass that around once we get that done sometime next month. So great stuff, Todd. See you soon in DC, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, everybody, that's it for this week's show. And I want to thank my guest, of course, Todd Mersch. Next week, to be honest, I don't know who my guest will be, but I will certainly have somebody from the Wi-Fi industry here. And so stay tuned to this channel and make sure you don't miss, by the way, lots of the other episodes of Wi-Fi Now TV right here on OCR Wireless News. That's it for today. Stay well and see you next time.
Wi-Fi Now is a production of RCR TV News. To suggest a show topic or to learn more about Wi-Fi Now events, you can reach Claus Hetting at klaus@hettingconsulting.com. To find out more about Wi-Fi Now and all things wireless, visit rcrwireless.com.